Well, hey there, it's Rebecca R. Jones, and I want to show you quickly just a little tip about mixed media layering. I know I get a lot of questions about how do I know what products I can actually layer on top of each other. And firstly, I need to make sure that you know what mixed media actually means, and it's literally what you're seeing here. This is one medium, colored pencil. Inktense is another medium. Pens are another medium, and when we mix them together, we get mixed media. I am typically what you would call a mixed media artist, and so I tend to create with more than one type of medium on the same surface when I'm doing a creative project, and I really enjoy that layering process and using different things. The question then is, how do I actually layer stuff so that I don't, kill my pens, for example, because they dry out on me, or make sure that things are actually layering on top for me. So typically, the way that you want to do this is very common sense. So let me explain what that looks like. If I were to use a pen, then this is fine. I could start with a pen, but what if the pen is water-based? This Faber-Castell Pitt pen is India ink. It's permanent, and you can see the information will actually tell you that it's Indian ink and it's waterproof, which means that you're good to go. You can use this on top of or below something, and when you go in with this brush, for example, and you were to go over the top of it, it would stay where it is because it's waterproof. If you're using a water-based pen, such as a Tombow brush pen or some of these other options out there, then it would not be waterproof. And when you go in and you start adding a layer of a water medium like watercolor or Inktense, you're going to actually scrub it right up, and it's just going to blur and move around on you. If you don't want that to happen, then what you need to do is do a base layer of all your water-based products, such as Inktense, where you take your color and say you get some chili red in here and you add your color and you think, okay, I love this, I'm happy with it, I'm good to go. You leave this to totally dry, and when you're ready, then you can go on top. Now, the thing about Inktense that you can know is that this is permanent. Once this dries, it's not going anywhere. Whereas watercolor, on the other hand, once I were to put this on, I could actually go in after it's dried, and it would start to scrub up a little bit here and there, depending on whether it's a staining watercolor or not. It can get a little complicated understanding whether it will or won't come up, but typically speaking, watercolor is actually not waterproof. It's water-based ink. It's a water-based pigment, excuse me. So what you want to do is go in with your water-based products first as your first layer, and then you've got to ask yourself, am I going to want to put something like a pen down on this surface? Now I'm going to let this dry here for a second. It's almost dry, but it feels wet to the touch, and I can see a little bit on my fingers, so I know it's not quite there yet. And so if I were to add a wax-based colored pencil next, and you will know if you are with me on my channel very often, that I would always recommend that you use a wax-based colored pencil. Don't use oil-based colored pencils in your Bible. So say we put this water-based product down, and we've got this question to ask ourselves. You kind of have to think a little bit ahead here. Am I going to put pen down, or am I only going to put colored pencil, or am I going to put both? Because the pens here have a very tiny little nib. That's what that's called. That little tip is called a nib. And if I were to add this to a surface of paper, it's just going to go straight on the paper, and that's absolutely fine. I can go on to this, which is almost dry now, and it's going to go onto that surface absolutely fine, because this is a water-based product. It's just color that has had the water dry out of it, and it's just sitting on the surface there with some pigment, and that's fine. But this is going to cause a problem if I try and get some colored pencil and add colored pencil to my surface here. This is totally fine to put this colored pencil over my water-based product. You can see how that responds. It likes it, it does well over the top, because this is a wax-based product that is going over the top of a water-based product. So I can actually get good results going over the top of this. Now, that's fine. Put my water-based product down, then I put a wax-based product down. Now I'm really in a problem though, because I want to add a pen and I can't anymore because I've got this wax on here. If I use this pen and I go over the top of this wax-based product, the wax in this that has been transferred to the surface will clog my nib and it will kill this pen. So my pen will be no more. So what you want to do is 1, water-based product on the bottom, 2, any pen that you want to put down, and 3, finally, your wax-based products like colored pencil. Now you could use acrylic paint and you could use water-based products as your base bottom layer. So water-based products or acrylic paint, but the thing with acrylic paint is you need to be sure that it is a nice thin layer and it is incredibly dry, bone dry, because the plastic will do the same thing. It'll get stuck inside this tip and we don't want that. So what you want to do is look at the product that you're using and think, is that going to get stuck in there? Is the wax, is some sort of chalky finish, something like that? Is there a residue that's left that's going to get stuck in here? You're absolutely fine with the water-based products like ink tints and watercolor. Those will be fine. But just make sure that they're all dry on there. And then you can go in with your pen. And finally, you can go in with those wax-based products like colored pencil and all of that. So to recap, 1, you can put your water-based products and then anything like acrylic paint, anything like that. 2, you can put pen down on top of that. I wouldn't recommend putting pen down and then putting water-based products because it doesn't make any sense. You're not going to see your lines through the color as well. So water-based products or acrylic paint that's completely dry, then you can put your pen down. And finally, products like colored pencil or other mediums like chalk pastels, things like that. So that is the trick for layering your products when you're using mixed media as the way that you want to create in your journaling Bible. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please do consider subscribing below, and I will see you soon with another little tip.